So Emmanuel Penon.
Oh, yes.
Senator Thomas Yaya Nimne.
Oh, yes.
Lupa County. Senator Councilor Joseph K. Jala.
Yes.
Senator Momo T. Saras.
Vote yes, please.
Omi County. Senator Eric M. Snow. Senator Eric Janeka Tala.
Yes.
Maigibi County. Senator Anthony Emmanuel James Nukwe. Senator Nathaniel F. Mangel.
Yes.
Russell County. Senator Wellington Brown Smith.
Yes.
Senator Bill Chair Kwame.
Yes.
Cranbrook County. Senator Albert Tubachi. Senator Nimani T.S. Bamfua. Lodi County. Senator Jonathan Borchas Subwe.
Yes.
Senator Francis S. Dogo II. Bakun County. Senator Bodo Kane. Yes. And Senator Amara M. Kone. There are 19 senators that voted in favor of the candidate.
Distinguished colleagues, the nominee is hereby confirmed. Secretary of Senate, please communicate accordingly. Next on the agenda, I will find everybody.
It will be the first issue on the it will be issue of the Committee on Agriculture, Fisheries, and Forestry report on the stopping and recap
Senator Momo
programs
Saras,
on the
Senator
Ministry of
Saras,
Agriculture,
both of you see on the way.
proffered by Senator Nathaniel F. McGill of Maigibi.
Both of you see on the way. Senator Nimle added to that number 3 senators fined.
How long did you?
Senator Koga added 4 senators fined. Senator Borcha, please make that list for me. Secretary of Senate. Senator Chair added to the list. Constant Chair. Secretary of Senate. Senator Bill Twari is added to the list. It will be Senator Christian Duncan is added. You want to put his head in? But you have to ask the question. Nobody I already thought now. Senator Christian Duncan added to the list. It will be
Issue of the Committee on Agriculture, Forestry, on the stopping and recap program under the Ministry of Agriculture, raised by Senator Nathaniel F. McGill of Maigibi County.
Yeah, I'll pay.
Senator McGill?
I'll pay. So,
I can hear your AOB.
thank you, Madam President. We commend you again for trying to make sure that the accountability in government. You have made your obligation. They were in Madam President, distinguished colleagues. I want to thank the President for making sure that you will ensure there's accountability in government. She has made this issue as a priority issue when you were speaking when we came back. And it's been more than 4 months now. It was in June when we had a hearing today. The witnesses are still on our oath. And we will not be able to have this hearing. So I'm suggesting or recommending my appointment that we bring this matter now to the full plenary so that we can establish the fight concerning this money. I made the records. The chairman asked the witnesses to send documents. The document have been here. Now I think we return in October, we end almost in December. So we have the witnesses on an oath. We want to appear before the full plenary, so we can add and so we can establish what happened to almost $200 million that was intended for agriculture. When you read some of the reports, I put them. The report you will find that people are giving 2 policies.
Senator Chief, you're the chairman of this committee.
Yes. And
You are the chairman of this committee.
If you have any call on all the pocket return, for what reason, I don't know. So the chairman needs to tell all of them that let discharge the committee of the responsibility, let bring them out to the full plenary. So we can establish that they were in a 3-man protest. And so
Was there any audit done on this?
no. So maybe the committee
Can the Senate make a recommendation to GSC to have this audited?
if you're good thing, my brother, we're talking about 200 million. When you read the report, my brother in the report,
I think the Senate should make a recommendation to GSC to have this audited. We'll go back and forth on this matter, and with proper audit report, action can be taken. So I think we should instruct the Secretary of the Senate to do a communication. Yeah. You done?
No, my brother, I think it's the best recommendation because when you read the report, you'll find that people get 2 policies and 2 hope to people to go to agriculture.
Yeah, so we need audit. Senator Joseph.
Yeah, thank you, Madam
I
President.
think we'll close down on this making recommendation to GSC for audit.
Madam President, I think it will be fair enough if we allow the chairman and the co-chair of that committee to brief plenaries.
The chairman passed the deadline to report. We informed the plenary that since last week, if the chairman didn't report, plenary will take decision. So he will speak on the matter today, but a decision will be made today by plenary. And I think the best decision is to request audit. So we'll give you a few minutes and then we'll forward that decision.
Thank you, Pro Tem and distinguished senators. You know, considering the gravity of this issue, the last time the plenary made a decision on it, communicated with the parties involved, especially the director of RETRA. They will be coming this week for us to conclude on their report, the documents that they submitted. And the RETRA director told me that when they appear, he will be inviting the entire committee for them to face it, all the projects that were undertaken. Then we, as a committee, I think Senator McGill are talking, I've discussed it with him that we bring them for the last time. We discussed their own document they submitted. Then we made a report to plenary to hand the case over to GSC. I told him, but I don't know because.
All right, so I think we can make that recommendation now to hand the case over to GSC because it's been there for over a year. So I think the Senate recommendation now should be to do a communication to GSC to please do an audit on this. Senator McGill, the motion.
And the desire of the Senate to see that there is full transparency in the disbursement or implementation of the RETRA and StarP project under the Ministry of Agriculture. I move, if I can get a second, that the Senate mandate the GSC to conduct a full audit to establish the parameters, the authority of the Ministry of Agriculture to grant the entire 200 which was intended for loan to give Liberian citizens as a grant to establish what authority the Ministry of Agriculture had to give the money or as a grant to certain Liberians, and how the money was expended and by what authority. And the result therefrom, and how Liberian people benefited or how the country benefited from the program.
Without receiving that motion, I read the vote. All in favor say yea. Against? So you guys send it. Please make sure I see copy of that letter today and let it be sent today. AOB, that's AOB.
Issue of the rental of the hotel at the SKD Sports Complex.
The GSC have their own period.
Talk about Senator Jensen.
Senator Chief Smith, you are the chair of the committee. Please provide all the information needed to the Secretary of the Senate for that communication for my review. Yeah. All right. It will be next. Senator Sokwe.
Yes. Chief, go back to your seat and talk now. Madam Pro Tem and fellow colleagues, I communicated in plenary with respect to the rental of the hotel at the Sports Complex. That matter was turned over to the Committee on Sports, and the time given has expired. At this point, we have not heard anything concerning same. That communication spoke to the Liberian national team being at home and being a stranger in our own home. Our teams are playing games in Liberia where they're supposed to belong, and are still supposed deliberately, because we are renting hotels in our own country and borrowing from people and paying them later. This does not offer well for our country. The hotel at the SKD Sports Complex was intended to host the national teams. Now we have given it out to some other people, and I don't know under what arrangement. We need to understand it. We need to seek understanding as to what was the arrangement and why are our team not camping there. This is the issue. I brought it before plenary assigned it. I think we need to go one step further to invite the Minister of Youth and Sports to come and tell us what is obtaining at the SCD complex. Because we can be in Liberia and we can be in some hotel around here. I don't understand.
As a concern from Senator Jonathan Sokwe, anybody has any addition?
Information.
Yeah.
Pro Tem district colleagues. Pro Tem, I can remember 2009. We raised the same issue in the House of Representatives. And when we invited the then Minister of Justice, Councillor Philip Z. Banks, and the late NRC Chairman, Richie Trouble, and they told us that they leased the place for almost 25 to 30 years to a Chinese company. The Chinese. We asked them to give us the documents, the concession at the time, to this person. No document had been given to the legislature. So I agree with Senator Segwe from River G. It will be prudent to send for the Minister of Sports, and also now we should send for the Minister of Justice, because when Philip was Minister of Justice, and when he signed that document, so the record should be there, and we'll know the rival company are in charge. But allegedly, we understood from other sources at the time that the late Richard Trouble, he and the Chinese, at the time they were in Sierra Leone,
He brought them here to turn that place over to them. So he one of the shareholders. So if we look at the document, we'll know who actually owned that place. Thank you, Pro Tem.
Senator Bobosara.
Thank you, brother. Because I'm the co-chair on Youth and Sport, Marcel has been doing some background investigation, and it will please me to inform this body that this matter is serious and need to be taken with urgency. Matter of fact, for my intelligence, these first people who had this agreement have resold or renegotiated. So now sublease, they have left and gave this particular property to another Chinese with a Liberian partner. Yes, that's what they have done. And David this matter and come to the resolution of this. But the information is that the first Chinese people who took it has left and turned the ownership over by means of sale or by means of working arrangement to give it to another Chinese with a Liberian partner. That's the latest information I will tell.
Senator Jala.
Thank you, Madam President. I do agree. I'm sympathetic with the situation. But this is the problem in this country. Here is my colleague in the legislature. He was in the House. They started people and they failed and reneged on their responsibility to take matter, to conclude on this matter. They never had it.
All of us in the program.
What the order is? Yeah, this is not going to be
My honor to Koga, Koga deny, you're not your seat. Senator Jala.
Yeah, so
Senator Jala. Order, Senator Togo.
my suggestion is that this time,
Order on the floor.
you're just getting order?
Madam Pro Tem, distinguished Senator, the order here is that the matter before us in the House of Representatives in the 54th, okay, that was discussed. The LRA came in. However, there was a report made, and that report is in the Journal of the House of Representatives. What is before us now is an issue being raised. Our code, and we should stick to that matter.
Order sustain. Stick to the issue, Senator Jala.
All right. My suggestion is, when we take this matter, we should try to take it to the the matter is not yet before us. It's being brought before us. It's being brought before us. And he raised the issue. I did not raise the issue. You still not here to protect the So, Madam Pro Tem, now come and take it to the logical end.
All right.
You can't get me raise the issue.
All right. Everybody else? Senator Koga, was you on the issue? Yeah, your hand was up.
Madam Pro Tem, I think the issue of inviting those institutions mentioned, LRA needs to be invited because this is a lease agreement. It's a structure on the ground. So we need to invite LRA to give us some clarity.
Plan for the committee expired? Yes. So you have to, so those people have to come before plenary. Yeah. So which committee is that? Oh, it's committee youth and sports now. Alright, okay, Chair. We'll send that to you and give you 2 weeks. 2 weeks to report. The committee now will take charge. And it will be
City Hall completion in River G County, released by Senator Sokwe of River G.
Senator Sokwe again.
So thank you, the colleagues and the Protem. Protem, I brought before this August Valley the issue of the incompletion of the city hall in Virginia County. Quite honestly, for the lack of a better word, is a disgrace to see that a county has no public hall that we can sit down to entertain our guests or visitors. At this point, Mr. Zopen, I beg you. At this point, the city hall is lying in ruin, and the people, the cattle are using it now for their own resting place. It's my understanding that monies were paid for the completion of that project to lease. I brought it before this legislature, and the PSC was given out the responsibility to do that. So now we have no information as to what is obtaining. Let me restate again that it's a disgrace to us, because I was just informed yesterday as chairman of the caucus that the speaker is making a tour in the southeast. He's going to be in River G. There's nowhere for him to sit down, any of us. This should not be happening to our country. River G is not a stepchild to this country. Madam, this is my position. I'm bringing it again. We need to call this here. We need to understand what is obtaining, and let's do what is needed. Thank you.
So that project was on the list. Which year? 2023. Which committee? Which committee is dealing with that?
Get rid of the PSC. Because there was an existing issue with PSC already.
All right. So, Senator Tobo, you have something to say? Senator Tobo.
It is customary that when chairman speak on a matter, traditionally we are to give support. First, we need to understand that this project is not a legislative project. This project was when the president did a tour. There was a funding provided by this legislature in the amount of $10 million, about $14 million. Okay, for presidential project. Which president? Yeah. The president.
Can we allow people to speak? Yeah.
President Weah did a tour in 2022. 2021. And then they put all the projects around the country together, and they came to the legislature. Okay, and we provided $14 million in the national budget of 2022. That's not what the program. And then they did some projects. They came additional $5 million to this legislature for project completion. And River G County City Hall project was included into that. They started the work. According to the fiscal outturn report, it's evident that the money was paid.
18 million altogether.
Yeah, money was paid to lease. So I was surprised that project is still at window level in construction. Okay, with funding being paid fully. And it's not just only River G County. So it's important.
So there's a whole list of
the projects that were paid for. It's very important.
Huh? Yeah, there has to be an audit. So, motion. How do we treat this matter? Sarah, no way. Sarah, what to do? Sarah, you have to.
Madam Protem, having listened to the complaint by the two distinguished senators from River G concerning the delay in the completion of the town hall, of the city hall, and I fish town. I move, if I can obtain a second, that Liz be invited
by the Committee on Internal Affairs to set up an inquiry into this matter, after which the plenary can now act on their report to other investigative institutions. But I think we need to hear from this first as to the standard of this matter. There have been a time that sometimes, fiscal action shows something and the institution did not receive the money. So we have to invite Liz first. That is my motion.
So with that, when do we invite Liz? And which committee is handling this?
The Committee on Internal Affairs and Ways and Means is a joint move. Public Accounts and Internal Affairs. And then by next week, latest Wednesday.
All right, so we want to get a report on this on Thursday. Next week, Thursday. With that clear, are you ready to vote on readiness? So there's no question.
Pro Tem, distinguished colleagues, I will be ready to vote if the movement would take into consideration all of the presidential projects that fall under the expenditure of the $18 million. Because as I speak, we have one standing and we are.
Move it. Are you ready to vote? Senator Christian Duncan.
Yeah, Pro Tem, I will be ready to vote if they include the major street of sign that was also in our project.
Oh, but they said all presidential projects.
Come again?
They said all presidential projects.
For that period, right?
Other the 18 million. Yeah. With that clear, are you ready to vote? All in favor say yea. Against. Any more AOB?
It's a briefing from the Committee on Judiciary on advice to plenary regarding the call for immediate cancellation of resident permit digitization agreement between the government of Liberia and Context Global Liberia Limited, raised by Senator Cyrus of Lufa. Am I correct?
Program again, let me say thanks for the leadership that you continue to provide for the 55th legislature. Pro Tem, I sat this morning and listened to the preacher. She said a lot, but I took few things. She said we are on a stage. She said that we should do things today for tomorrow. And she also said that we should keep the focus. Those were three things I took from the preaching this morning. But then against this background, since we are on a stage and we should keep focused and we should do things for tomorrow, I have for many months, if not years, spoken about this Contact Global contract with the Liberian Immigration Service. Pro Tem and colleagues, it's not just because I want to speak or I just want to be noticed. I'm pushing this thing because it has so many implications on the Liberian government, its people. In my communication on October 28, 2025, Madam Pro Tem and colleagues, I outlined that this contract was signed in 2021. October. And this contract is intended to digitize resident permit for aliens residing in Liberia. Pro Tem, it would interest you to note that the contract says that in the period of 5 years, there should be 350,000 cards to be digitized for aliens. Protest is not possible because our immigration inflow annually is just 6 to 7, at most 8,000 alien per year. How possible can they digitize 350,000 for 5 years? And the contract says if the 350,000 card is not digitized, the contract automatically extends. This suggests that this company, if nothing is done, will be here for the next 45, 50 years by the contract. Not only that, this contract has performed so lowly. We have issues with revenue losses when the immigration themselves was using paper documentations to do resident permit. Our revenue generation was $6 million US a year. Now it's less than $3 million, and we have to share the $3 million 60-40. When we were doing it as immigration, we were getting $6 million plus yearly. Now we have Contact Global, we're getting less than $3 million, and we're sharing $3 million 60-40. Thereby putting pressure on government to support Liberian immigration service, when in fact the Liberian immigration service is supposed to be supporting the national budget. Protest, this is so serious, and now when the technical incompetence, these people should have established offices all around the country for the first 90 days. As we speak, they have a tiny office on 10th Street with less than 5 employees. And all of the employees are all Indians. Immigration as an institution do not even have access to the data that is being collected. The data is being stored in India. Yes. And if you read about data protection, for which we don't have, we try to create a law to protect our data. As we speak, our data are not protected by law. It means you can manipulate, you can do anything about data, you will not be prosecuted because we don't have any law protecting our data. So, Madam President, our sovereignty is at stake. And because we are on the stage and we can keep focused, Madam President, we have to rectify this situation ASAP. Madam President, it will be good enough for us to look at this case, and in my mind, if my colleagues can agree, let the leadership take care of this situation, because I have spoken about it, communication is ready, and as we speak, there has never been a report on this thing regarding a way forward. Madam President, I will rest and listen to other colleagues. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Bomosaris. Any I want to speak on this matter? Senator Nukwe, followed by Senator Doko.
Madam President, thank you. At the hearing yesterday, at the budget hearing yesterday, we flagged the same issue. Actors in the executive branch of government or agencies in the executive branch of government have the habit of entering into service contracts and deciding by whatever means they think is good for them to decide how government money should be distributed. And as you heard Senator Sarah say, in many instances, the service provider is given 60% and the government takes 40%. Even in many instances, those monies are not properly accounted for. But then when it's time for budgeting, they make revenue projections and include those revenue projections that are based on those contracts that didn't come to the legislature. And by the time we approve the budget, it means that we have indirectly approved those contracts or ratified those contracts. So we raised the issue here yesterday at the budget hearing and requested the Ministry of Finance to bring all of those contracts on which some of the revenue assumptions are based, especially for Ministry of Labor. They have a contract. For immigration, they have a contract. Transport, they have a contract. CTN, they have a contract. Medtech, they have a contract. So they decide how much money is being generated, how much you go to the contractor, how much you come to the country. And we don't see those agreements. But the revenue projections are made and then incorporated in the budget, and then we pass the budget indirectly. We ratify those contracts that we haven't seen, or we give our approbation to those contracts. So this time we are seeking the indulgence of this plenary to ensure that we properly vet all of those contracts. And if the provisions in those contracts are not in the best interest of this country, we should revise them, or we should make the necessary appropriation in the budget, revenue projection in the budget, and request the government to do the right thing. So I just thought to raise that because it's about time that we take the necessary actions to correct some of these wrongs that have been done over the years. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Nukwe. Senator Nopo.
Madam Pro Tem, distinguished senators, I'm hoping that my addition to the disco will help to bring out a lot of things and create the urgency that we need in addressing the case being raised by Senator Momo. This does not only rest with Contract Global, there is also a company that is being contracted by labor within the same period. When you do a fiscal analysis of the two contracts in terms of the trend of our revenue generation for both labor and immigration, you will understand that within 5 years of the contract, the Liberian government will be shortchanged in the process. You will realize that there will be no reason why you will allow such a contract in this country. Because if we share 60-40 in revenue for the printing of ID cards and tax our people or levy fees on our people to pay, for example, say somebody pay $100 and one company take 40 and we take $60 for it. Over a period of time, you will notice that indeed the company is getting more. We are creating an avenue where we make foreigners richer than our government. If you look at the analysis. Two, the company being listed, including Medtech and the other CTN, if you go through their books, and we have to call the NRC here and other companies, other entities here, the business plan of the institution for which we grant them some of these things, if you see that, you will know that the return on investment, okay, is higher. Now, if the return on investment is higher, then you have to cap the investment. If you cap the investment, automatically you will know that indeed, though all of the contracts are subject to concession or military approval. Because the investment that will be generated by that, okay, as per the return on investment, should be more than $10 million. Second, we can be telling Liberian people that people are paying fees to the government, and then we are sharing the fees without the approval of the legislature. Because all of these contracts go with sharing of revenue. So it undermines the very legislature. So I believe that it's important what we cannot cherry pick. If we look at an entity agreement that is not correct in the same pattern, then all should flow the same way. People cannot be we are borrowing money from partners, but yet companies come here and borrow money from us. How are they borrowing money from us? You have an agreement that says you should do X, Y, Z before you start to carry on your investment. But instead, you are operating and collecting the people's money, and you're using the money to carry your investment, like in the case of Medtech, like in the case of Contract Global. Because you are raising the money
sharing it before you start to do what you're supposed to do. The same thing with traffic management. You are collecting the money before your investment, so you are borrowing from us. But right? That you don't go with interest. So it's coming upon us. But even the unknowns are here. They use our money to build the terminal. To build whatever it is, the terminal, they use our money. Because they were raising money from people using the things that build the marginal wire and other things. It's getting too much. The issue about even involvement into the process. We talk about value added here. The technology part of it, we don't have Liberian into the market. So we are at risk. We are losing revenue. Then we have been threatened by our data. Like he said, we just passed here a cybercrime security law. We also receive the data protection. Our critical infrastructure, we don't have control over them. Pretty soon, these people sell data, just as they used to sell carbon credit for Liberia. We have to be very mindful, and I think we should take it as a emergency for this legislature. One, to protect our revenue, to protect our authority to share revenue, and at the same time protect our data security. Are you?
Senator Taylor, followed by Senator Coker.
Madam distinguished colleagues, I want to thank my colleague from Dorset County, Senator Cyrus, for his insistence in getting us to correct this. I'm wondering how we used to manage and immigration used to give resident permit long before we had these contracts. I'm wondering how we used to manage when labor minister was giving work permit without outsourcing the contract to print the work permit to a company that would take 60% for the printing and the data, and then the federal government get 40%. I'm wondering. The only answer that I can come to is that we get approvals. When we withdraw our approval, it won't happen. Some of these contracts are ratified. Some of them are not ratified, but we approve the national budget with the revenue in it. When the contract is enforced, then we can make speeches on the floor. The information provided by the Defense Security Intelligence Committee chair about data being in the hand of non-Liberian foreigners, contracted. If it doesn't scare us as leaders, if it doesn't scare us on this committee, I don't know what else will even scare us again. I want to suggest that this plenary takes a bold decision to consult with the Ministry of Justice and all related agencies or entities for us to review these things and to take a bold step here. All the contracts that we are given, they are not supposed to be in effect here. We shouldn't take source of revenue from them putting in the budget. Anything short of that, we are approving the contract. We are approving the contract by extension without approving it ASAP. So, and then the mother-in-law, when you do that, then you suffer losses. When you fail to do what you should have done, and when it happens, then you complaining, you suffer losses. Because you didn't take responsibility, you didn't do what you should have done, and then when the thing happened, then no. We must take action in the interest of our own national security to review these contracts, where applicable, terminate them, especially those that did not meet legislative approval, in keeping with the meet and bound of the law. Yesterday, during the budget hearing, I asked, anyway, that will later, I'll come and welcome the issue. I don't want it to be here. Because it's the same thing we can do. I asked the foreign ministry and the LRA people here during the budget hearing, why not put labor ministry in the budget for $10 million for revenue generation? They said mostly from work permit. Now you see, if we pass a budget like that, who can blame the Minister of Labor for going to sell the work, to get work permit to fulfill that revenue exposure? And then we pass it, it means we get responsibility to go for that revenue. And the source of the revenue is work permit sale. We have to correct these things, and including correcting them with the budget, so that they can go in 2026.
Senator Coker.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Colleagues, I will begin with Medtex. Medtex signed an agreement with the LRA. And the agreement entails that they are going to build a structure at the Free Port Authority to carry on qualitative and quantitative validation. As we speak, the money that they are getting out of Liberia now is the promise that they made in the concession are not going nowhere. GMA was brought in this country under the PRS poverty reduction strategy. And the intent was to ensure that structure be put in place systematically at the collectorate, so that government revenue, there will be no leakages. After GMA came, the train Liberian, they came about Asekuda. Asekuda is authorized to ensure before goods come from any country of origin, they have the data, the invoice of the goods, the type of goods are coming, the tariff heading, the tax rate for taxation purpose or purposes. But this Asekuda is still in the system, and the customers are working with Asekuda, and the same then they hire Medtech. What Medtech is doing? You pay your goods in Liberia, they say right here, and then how imaginative thought and say the CIF value of those goods is this. Then you have 2% or 1.5% going to them free. Then what the customer is doing? Why we employ the customs? I think the customs salary should be increased to encourage them to do a professional job. I forgot about Medtech. Medtech is not helping us. Medtech is doing a briefcase business on ground that when Bureau Veritas, a French and British company, when they were here, the CEO that were operating in Liberia informed the Biva International that Liberian market is too low, so they're sustaining losses, simply because he wanted to personally establish an entity which is today Medtech, excluding Biva from the process, because Biva is they are mover and shaker. So when you tell them those things, you know, Liberia is a small market, but we're here to exploit. We need to investigate in depth. The issue of the immigration pro tem and the labor ministry, the ID card in question is substandard. When you give me a delegate to people, the future should be very strong that nobody can duplicate it easily. And the bigger part that Makoli talked about is placed in our hands. We have the National Identification Center. And we Liberian, our processes go through them. Why not create a department in that area that will employ Liberians to do the immigration job and also do the labor issue separately, than to give money to people who will just sit in one area that didn't will accent and just get huge sum of money from us. They will affect us. So to do it with respect to what our colleague said, I would suggest that you institute a specialized committee to investigate this issue and report within 1 week, because there is an urgency. The reason here is there is a budget at hand. If we are making any decision whether to include them or to exclude them from the budget, we will investigate and emerge for decision on those entities that are collecting money. At the same time, requesting us to place budget in your account or in your institution to function.
Yeah, information. Follow what the chair and the
Pro-Tem distinguished senators, I think those who establish this extra institution to see about foreigners' registration, I think they may have their own interest. Because at the National Registry issued 3 ID cards in this country. 1 Liberian, 2 ECOWAS citizens, 3 other nationals. So I don't see the reason why extra institutions should be established to give them a contract for them to have budgetary allotment. That's the information I want to give.
All right. Good information. Senator Chair. Followed by. If they can do it, they can do the rest. Senator Chair.
Presiding colleagues, I do employ the nationalism driving this debate. It's that in our service to country, we put the interests of our country first, over and above ours. And that's what I started by saying I appreciate the nationalism as I tell in this debate. I think what we need to do is not just blaming concessionaires, foreigners, is to put our own house in order. What does that mean? The foreigners don't come here and sign the contracts on their own. We, quote unquote, collude with them to do so, to take away revenue from our national pocket. So we are doing that to ourselves. So what is needed, in my opinion, especially regarding the legal framework, because there's a legal framework that provides for members of the executive signing contracts, concessions that are below $10 million without legislative ratification. And so they use that, like some of the contracts. So my colleagues are doing too. These are kind of contracts, executive contracts. Can we now, on the basis of what's obtaining, say enough is enough? Let's review and revise the law. Instead of 10 million, let's bring it down to 1 million or to 500,000. Oh yes, that's the way we can address our problem. That's the way we can address it. Otherwise, we just say that there's no separate days. We don't control what the guys do over there. And once the Lord gives them the power to do so, nothing we can do about that. They can do it without coming to us. So let's review the law, let's amend the law, change the law. That's the way to go. Thank you.
After Senator Jala particularly the motion, because we have budget hearing at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So that's why we started session early. Senator Jala.
Madam Pro Tem, concomitant legislation laid by my chair, let me say that contract is a constitutional issue. It's protected by the Constitution. When contracts are executed, no matter how bad the contract is, take note. No matter how bad the contract is, once you didn't have bullet to your ear to sign our contract, it's valid. Unless the two parties get together to cancel. Even if you went to the court would not lend itself to cancel contract duly and freely executed by people who are of the age of consent. Therefore, our oversight can be strengthened. When we bring it to the attention, because that is why every contract in the executive is attested to by the Attorney General. And I remember once upon a time when I was Deputy Attorney General of this country, we urged all ministries our time, before you execute any contract, you must get a clear, no objection, legal opinion from the Ministry of Justice. That's what we used to do to all the ministries. They want to buy a watch, they will write to all to give them legal opinion. Even to bring concession to the legislature, legal opinion from the Ministry of Justice, whether it's something that can be done. So we should strengthen our oversight. Like, for example, in the case of the immigration contract, the Security Committee can exert itself with the Attorney General because he attested our contract. His signature is there. Or the Attorney General's signature will be there. So this Attorney General can look at it and review it without first resigning. So it's good to take on the issue, but we need to meet our boundary, to stay in our lane. Our lane is to make law, to set guidelines. Of course, under the doctrine of coordination, our oversight can be used to cross the boundary. And that boundary can be crossed successfully with the discussion with the Attorney General or by citing him by the Security Committee to say why this happened and why this happened. What can you do about it? Maybe that would be the way to review and expunge that contract. I thank you.
Senator Batikwa, and then a way forward after the motion.
The way forward still in.
No, after the way forward and the who?
Madam Presiding.
Order.
Madam Presiding.
You calling order?
So then he said the error. He's a lawyer like me.
Senator. Yeah.
Yeah, I challenge you to do that.
That's good. Yeah.
Yes.
So, Madam Pro Tem, the Senator was in error. Our position here is such that borders on our oversight is in line with government's approach. When Judy Bryan, government ratified the Metasti contract, that was a legitimate contract signed by a government, the government of the Republic of Liberia. When President Saleh came, she brought them back to the table. She indicated that the terms were not favorable to the country, and they went by and renegotiated. Recently, we raised the issue, we flagged the issue about CTN and notified the government to review and take action, and they did that.
Yeah.
So we are not in error. It's the same thing we are doing here, that let's review these things. Since there are appropriation revenue projections in the budget, let's review these laws, let's review these contracts, and call the government to the provisions that are unconscionable and that are against the interests of the country. So that's exactly what was done before. is what we are saying. The government has the right to bring them back to the table.
Information accepted. Sarah Batikwa. If you reach it, that's okay. So they are on the same page. Sarah Batikwa. Madam Presiding, distinguished colleagues. Excuse me. Senator Jara. Council, please. Because even in the court, when your colleague is speaking, you have to listen. In this chamber, I'm your colleague. Oh. You know, in the court here, there is our political theater. We are colleagues. So what I'm saying, Madam President, thank you very much for entertaining this discussion. I think it's very important. Our colleague who raised the issue has been very consistent, persistent, and I think we want to thank him for his insistence on this issue because it's very important. And while our colleague was saying that our issue of our attempt to discuss these issues is wrong, I think he's in error. Because when these issues are raised, normally, that is why the Liberian Senate can ask its appropriate committee to investigate, see whether we are proceeding correctly. When that committee makes its report, then the Senate takes a stand. So our attempt to discuss these issues that affect our people don't always consider it wrong. Colleagues, I think the act of bringing this issue back is very important, and we need to now, if we did not in the past, like for instance, all of us are aware that currently in the entire region, our ports is now being bypassed. People taking things to Abidjan, taking things to Africa, and Sierra Leone, Guinea, and all that to transport to bring them to Liberia because of the high cost of the free port of Monrovia. It's because you got the CTN, you got the Mentex doing almost the same thing. And all of the cost is being passed on to the consumers. And we cannot continue to sit here representing the people and they are continuously suffering bad decisions. It is by now time, as our colleague has requested, that we investigate thoroughly and all of the actions that we have been deferring should be taken now and let our people be redeemed from the suffering that they are going through because of the duplication of functions at the free port of Monrovia, causing huge costs that is being passed on to the consumer, that is being passed on to the end users. Why should we sit here doing the same thing, and Medtech doing the same thing, and all of that? And when we come, we discuss it, we go back. Then when we come, one of our colleagues bring it back. Then we discuss it. Then we leave it. I think it's by now time, let us take the appropriate decision that will redeem our people and bring sanity to the port of Monrovia, or free port of Monrovia, and see how people can be redeemed. And the issue our colleagues about this global context global. Yes. Immigration was here. Immigration was here, carrying on the function. Why? Really necessitated the need of dedicating their responsibility to another party that is getting huge money from government that we supposed to be getting to run the country. They need to really be invited to convince us the need of dedicating this responsibility
that is there. So, to me, we need to take the decision again, not defer this action. And that's what I wanted to say. No, the protest says nobody should.
While on your feet, I think we should put a technical committee together. I think the Senate has done a lot of work concerning some of these agreements we're talking about.
While on my feet?
And we made some good recommendations. Some of them the president acted on. So we need to do more. The fact that they acted on most of the recommendations, even the recommendation about the petroleum pricing came from the Senate, and government said 15 million towards the road fund, right, David? Yeah. Okay. So I think we can take some real actions, but we need to put a technical committee together so they can work. So they can work while the budget hearing is ongoing. So if we need to make some interventions, we can do that. So you want to make a motion? If you want to make a Senator Batikwa.
So, Madam President, having exhaustively discussed this issue, I move that the chair, the presiding, constitute a specialized committee to do an in-depth investigation, invite the parties concerned, get detailed information, and make its report to this body, because the budget is now at hand, and bring its report in 1 week, if I will be a second, for our division.
Yes, it has been moved and seconded that a specialized committee be formed to report in 1 week. We already said, are you ready to vote? On readiness, Senator Dopo?
To the movement, I'll be ready to vote if you consider 2 weeks.
2 weeks too long. The budget here, we have to make intervention by this. We can take straight 1 week to have hearing every day to get information.
Communication, a period of analysis.
Okay, so within 2 weeks, it can be ready in 1 week. We'll encourage them to have it ready in 1 week.
That's what I said.
All in favor say yea. Against? Okay, so I'll put our committee together. It will be chaired by Senator Dukwe, co-chaired by Senator Tyler, and judiciary chair will be on there. Topo will be on there, and Taba Fabla. Please take note. And let the committee, let the communication go out to the committee today, so they can start to work immediately. And they will start to brief us. They'll brief us every Tuesday and Thursday in consultative room before you come to the floor. Thank you. Motion to adjourn.